We just got done talking about Brad Holmes, his comments on Jared, talking to Peter Schrager. Now I want to see how those comments line up with this ranking list. And Lucas, you have the graphics. This is, again, I want to make sure we get this clear. It's executives, coaches, scouts, rank NFL's top 10 quarterbacks for 2023. So part of this is a projection, but this is what we have so far. Lucas, you want to go ahead and read them off for me?
Yeah, so number one, this is just the top five. Number one is Patrick Mahomes. Number two, of course, is Joe Burrow. Number three, Josh Allen. Number four, Aaron Rodgers. And number five, Justin Herbert. So that's just the first one. So, and then we got the bottom five. This comes in, this is a little painful to watch, especially the number 9 spot. Number 6, Jalen Hurts. Number 7, Lamar Jackson. Number 8, Trevor Lawrence. Number 9, Dak Prescott.
Oh, jeez.
And number 10, Matthew fucking Stafford.
No.
So, I'm going to try to make sense of this because before we get into the reactions, because just don't worry, we're getting Aaron Rodgers very soon, Sam Flannel, and Dak Prescott.
And Matthew Stafford.
You're right, to be honest with you. I want to try and make sense of why these quarterbacks are ranked where they're ranked. And my best guess, Sam, would be if you're asking executives, coaches, scouts, players, typically those guys aren't on Pro Football, looking up stats and breaking down the numbers and looking at 2023 or 2022, 2021, look at how their career. It's the eyeball test. You're just, hey, who's the best quarterbacks? Well, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks, so that's why he's in that list. Now, if you're stat watching, you'd know that Dak Prescott's, coming off last year, he's not top 10. He led the league in interceptions. There's no argument for him there. But again, the eyeball test, well, I remember Dak Prescott, he has the numbers typically on a year-to-year basis, even though he falls flat on his face in the postseason. Aaron Rodgers has the numbers in the regular season, besides last season, but then falls short on his face in the playoffs. Obviously, these guys are all taking it's the eyeball test to them. Now, I say, and I'm consistent with this, Jared Goff to me is the second best quarterback in the NFC coming off of last year. Now, if you ask players and coaches and executives who's better, Dak or Jared, the eyeball test will say, well, it's Dak Prescott. But they don't argue. They don't factor in, all the other things we factor in. But, Sam, your reaction to the list, anybody that you think doesn't deserve to be there, anybody you think deserves to be there?
I'm going to focus on the 9 and 10 because I think that's where there is most contention. Obviously, I'll get this out of the way. Aaron Rodgers at 4, you would think that I would be super happy about that, but I actually don't think he deserves to be 4. I think he deserves to be in the 5, 6, 7 range. But anywho, that's not why we're here. We are here to talk about Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford because when you look at just last season, there is no way in hell that Jared Goff should not be on this list, and those two should. But that's why you have to dig just a little bit deeper. I've always been a little bit disturbed, and this is just me being me. That Lions fans are just so dismissive of Dak Prescott like he's some bum off the street. Oh, but Jared Goff's a guy that we should pay $45-50 million. He's a franchise quarterback. He could be elite. I don't understand that because based off of last year, Jared Goff was much, much better than Dak Prescott, though that is undisputed. Dak Prescott had the worst season of his career. But if you look at just the season before, and I'm going to use Stafford and Dak Prescott threw 37 touchdowns, 10 picks on a division-winning team, and Jared Goff threw 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on a team that won 3 games. In 2021, Jared Goff obviously had the 19 and 8. Matthew Stafford threw 41 in the regular season, 9 in the postseason for a total of 50 when you combine regular season and playoffs, and won a Super Bowl for the team that Jared Goff could not win a Super Bowl with. So at the same time, if you look at history, you look at a season before, not 2022, 2021, and even when you look at, and I know you guys aren't going to like this, but I don't give a shit. You look at playoff numbers. Jared Goff, I know everyone is just like, oh my God, he got the Rams to a Super Bowl. And Dak Prescott is this choker. All he does it every single playoffs.
Because it's true.
What if I told you, Lucas Klotz? What if I told you, Jeff Ifredi? What if I told you, Jeremy Bryant? What if I told you, Gabrielle D. Phillips? What if I told you guys in the audience that Jared Goff and Dak Prescott have played the exact same number of playoff games? Jared Goff has 4 touchdown passes to 2 picks. Dak Prescott has 11. I get it, 5 interceptions, but still.
What's the records?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, in the playoffs.
Wait a
That's the
minute,
only
wait a
thing
minute,
that
wait a minute.
matters.
So, are you giving Jared Goff all the credit for that Super Bowl run in which he threw 1 touchdown, 2 picks?
No, what I'm giving Jared Goff credit for is what I will never, which is what I can't stand about Dak Prescott. I think their talent's very similar.
He doesn't mess it up.
Yeah, Dak Prescott gets in the way of the Cowboys. Jared Goff hardly. There was times, I'm not going to say because he's not a perfect quarterback, but for especially the first couple of years, Jared Goff did not get in the way of the Rams. He let Todd Gurley do him. Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cooks, all you guys do you. I got Aaron Donald, Marcus Peters, and Keith Talib on the other side, Eric Weddle. I'll let them ball out. My job is to make sure that I'm not throwing the game away, which we see Dak, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Kirk Cousins do.
Right.
And that's why even you can say Derek Carr. Derek Carr hasn't even been in the playoffs for more than a season. So it's not close here. The talent might be the same, but what the guys call it when they're talking about Wemby? The Wolf?
Oh
the
my
Wolf
God.
is different.
God.
The Wolf is different.
Now, and this is the other problem I have, because with Jared not being there, do I agree with how they rank quarterbacks? I'm a little different. I look at last year coming into this year. That's how I value it, because you're only as good as what you did lately, to me. And Derek didn't look great lately, or last season. Now, if you want to factor in legacy, pull up the list 1 through 5 for me. Because if we're going off last year, and this is where I don't think they are, Jalen Hurts is not 6.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is not 5 either.
Jalen Hurts was second in the
I feel
MVP
like it's
conversation.
more of a generality.
Like that, Herbert off what? The eyeball test? He's big. He has a cannon. Like what do we do? I don't know how we're ranking. And again, I love Herbert. I'm not trying to diss Herbert, but I don't understand how we're valuing each of these quarterbacks. Clearly, it's not off last season, because if it was, Goff, should be there.
Right.
I don't think typically if you're talking about guys and who opposing teams fear. Maybe they don't fear Goff like they fear Aaron Rodgers or fear Dak Prescott. Can't believe I'm saying that, because I don't think teams even fear him. But the point I'm making is, who cares? Who wins? And Dak Prescott consistently and Aaron Rodgers fall short. But the point is, I don't think they factor that into this list. It's just, hey, Aaron Rodgers is one of the better quarterbacks, one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But coming off last season, like Jalen Hurts coming off last season should be higher. So that's why this list to me isn't based off last season, so I really don't care about it. I don't.
Well,
it is what it is.
And nobody should care. I think at this point, I expect Jared Goff to do what he did last year and be the second best quarterback in the NFC once again. And for the record, if this was my list, before you guys call me a hater, I would put Jared Goff probably at 9. I think the top 8 are pretty much set in stone right now. My thing is, and this is why like people get mad at me, is I just don't like all of the just complete dismissiveness of guys like Dak Prescott, because I'm going to read something Jack Harrington said in the chat, because I hear this from all the freaking time. Oh, Dak Prescott is a playoff choke artist. What do you think of Jared Goff's playoff career then? Because Jared Goff's playoff career, I mean, Lucas, what you said earlier just grinds my gears so much. Basically, what you're saying is, man, the way that Jared Goff can just hand the ball off to Todd Gurley and throw those little passes. What if I told you Lucas Klotz in his first ever playoff game, he led the Rams to 13 points in a loss to the Atlanta Falcons? Wouldn't it have been nice? Wouldn't it have been nice too, Lucas, if he could have done something other than just like manage the game and lead the team to more than 13 points against the New England Patriots in one of the worst Super Bowls of all time? Come on now.
Yeah, it would also have been really nice if Brandon Cooks caught that ball that fell right in his hands. And before that, if you want to bring up the Falcons who went on to the Super Bowl, if we want to talk about managing the game, that's why I cannot stand Dak Prescott, because we saw his clock management at the end of this playoffs. And that's exactly why. In big-time games, in big moments, Dak's talent disappears and his mental awareness disappears. Jared Goff, even if his talent is not there, he's smart enough. I'm not saying Dak's a dumb individual, but in big moments, Dak shrinks. And Jared Goff, in my opinion, in big moments, he just stays the same. He's not any better. Sometimes he could be a little bit worse, especially on the road, but he does not get in the way of where the team's going. Especially like if the defense gives a 3 and out, instead of throwing an interception, Jared Goff will kill the clock and maybe punt. That's not what you want.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But these are the things that Dak Prescott does. And it's like you give your defense a 3 and out, and then there's a pick next possession. The defense for the other team now has a short yards, and the offense has a short field to go, so it's easier for them to score. And it creates short time. And that's what Jared Goff does. He manipulates the clock better than. And when you're talking about Jared Goff and Dak Prescott in the playoffs, they're playing against better quarterbacks, yes or no?
Well,
most of the time, yes. So they have to figure out, how can I control the game in some way? It's not going to be with their skill. It's how they actually have an imprint on the game. Like Patrick Mahomes, you can do whatever you want. He's still going to be Patrick Mahomes in 13 seconds. Jared Goff isn't like that, so he's got to figure out, okay, how can I be Jared Goff today?
Well, just to mention some context, too, on this list, Jared was an honorable mention.
Yeah.
And just to give context on what they said about Jared, and I sent you the just the screenshot of Jared Goff's honorable mention and what it says, and you could throw that up whenever you got it, but I'll read it. He says, Goff rarely got a single vote over the past 3 seasons, okay? Rarely got a vote. But this year, he appeared on nearly 25% of the ballots after leading Detroit to 9 wins. Thanks in part to a 29-7 touchdown reception ratio. He ranked 3rd in the NFL in QBR against the blitz. And again, they write more about Jared Goff, but essentially, he did get some votes. 25% of the votes, he was on the ballot. Now, they do averages, so more than not, he wasn't in the top 10, but still, he was mentioned. And the other part, and this is the problem I have with this list, the biggest problem I have is, and this is written by Jeremy Fowler, by the way, just to give credit, and there you go, there's Jared Goff's explanation. It also writes in here, and this is really the mind-boggling one. So here we go. It says, the objective is to identify the best players right now for 2023. This is not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award. Who are the best players today? That's the question. Again, not a career achievement award, not a 5-year projection. Who are the best quarterbacks today? And they're still, for some reason, disrespected Hurts a little bit and overrating Rodgers a little bit. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, though, because I don't know how much you should take 2 years ago into account, because Jalen Hurts was kind of seen as a guy who you didn't know if you could win games with him throwing the football, and Aaron Rodgers won the MVP.
Right.
And then even when you look at Dak and Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff, 2 years ago it wasn't even a conversation. They were both clearly above Jared Goff, but at the same time, if you're looking at just last season, Jared Goff, I mean, if you're looking at just last season, and I wouldn't do this for the record, you would put him even above Aaron Rodgers, just based off of last season. But Aaron Rodgers has way too much cachet, even recent cachet, to just like throw that all away. You can't do that.
I think he's still top 10, but 4 over, some of the other guys, what Lawrence did last season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't agree with that at all. I think Justin Herbert, as much as I like him, people are kind of crowning him as like, the upper echelon of quarterback right now. I don't agree with that either, but here we are. That's the list.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think Justin Herbert's one of those guys where once he does get that playoff win, it's easy to call him top 5 and he'll stay there. But until he does that, you can't put him over guys like Jalen Hurts, who is just in the Super Bowl. And Rodgers is a little high. I'd probably put Rodgers at 6.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I would swap Aaron and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
is that
100%,
fair? That's what I would do right now.
Okay.
I would probably move Trevor above Lamar too.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
And then I wouldn't have 9 or 10 the same either.
Yeah. And Matthew, again, for Matthew Stafford, we know when he was healthy, what he did historically winning a Super Bowl statistically is also what he did in the regular season. I'm sorry, Lucas. Just the facts.
No,
Don't apologize.
I know
Don't
what
apologize.
it is.
But again, if you're coming off last season, Dak and Stafford, they just shouldn't be in this list. But again, this is according to, I'm going to go back to it, has to be the eyeball test. What am I seeing? Matthew, when we face Matthew, he puts more fear into us than Jared. That's fair. But coming off last season, I don't think there's an argument at all. But